That flag doesn't change our policy, soldier. The words slice through Terminal C like a blade. Staff Sergeant James Cooper deserved better than this. Honor Guard Specialist Michael Ramirez feels his pulse hammering as he stands sentinel beside the flag-draped transfer case, his white-gloved hand never leaving its surface. Denver International Airport bustles around them, oblivious to the fallen hero in their midst. Gate Agent Barbara Winters stares at her computer screen, avoiding Ramirez's eyes. "You'll need to check that casket, sir. It's oversized luggage." Ramirez's voice remains measured, each word precise. "This isn't luggage. This is Staff Sergeant Cooper going home to his family." "I understand, but I have exactly 19 hours to get this soldier home." Ramirez's throat tightens. "His parents are waiting at Arlington. The funeral procession forms at 0800 tomorrow." Winters sighs. "I need a supervisor for this." "Ma'am, I'm not leaving this airport without completing my mission." 4 hours earlier, Ramirez had stood at attention in a hangar at Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan. The transfer case had arrived under escort, the remains of Staff Sergeant James Cooper finally heading home after the IED attack that had taken his life while saving 3 members of his unit. "Specialist Ramirez," the commanding officer's voice echoed in the cavernous space. "You're Cooper's escort all the way to Arlington. His family specifically requested you." Ramirez nods, accepting the mission with silent determination. He'd known Cooper during training. Not close friends, but brothers in arms. The weight of this responsibility settles on his shoulders like the perfectly pressed uniform he wears. "All arrangements confirmed, sir. Trans-American Airlines has the military transport authorization. I've triple-checked everything." Now, in the harsh fluorescent light of Gate C-17, that confirmation means nothing. A small crowd of passengers forms a respectful distance away, watching the confrontation unfold. Several have phones raised, recording. "Your booking doesn't specify special cargo, sir." Barbara Winters taps her screen, her voice taking on the practiced customer service tone that signals denial. Ramirez reaches into his breast pocket and removes his military orders, unfolding them with precise movements. The fallen soldier protocol is clearly noted here. Trans-American Airlines confirmed these arrangements yesterday. Winters barely glances at the document. "I'm not seeing any special handling code in our system. I've been an honor guard for 3 years. This isn't my first escort mission." Ramirez keeps his voice level, but his fingers press more firmly against the transfer case. He discreetly taps the recording app on his phone, sliding it back into his pocket. A middle-aged man in the crowd steps forward. "Let the man board with his fallen soldier show some respect." Winter's face tightens. "Sir, please step back. This is an airline matter." She picks up her phone, punching an extension. "I need assistance at Gate C-17. Her eyes flick to Ramirez, then away. "Maybe you should speak with my supervisor. He'll explain our policy more clearly." Ramirez stands taller, the fluorescent lights reflecting off his polished buttons. Cooper's not missing his funeral. Not on his watch. The customer service manager arrives within minutes, his navy suit tight across broad shoulders, his Trans-American Airlines name badge reading Todd Phillips, Customer Experience Manager. He assesses the situation with a quick glance. The uniformed soldier, the flag-draped transfer case, the gathering crowd with their phones raised. "What seems to be the problem here?" Phillips asks, his voice carrying the artificial warmth of corporate damage control. Winters leans toward him, speaking in a stage whisper that carries. "He's insisting on boarding with oversized cargo. Military or not, it exceeds our dimensions." Phillips turns to Ramirez, extending his hand. "Sir, I understand you're performing an important duty, but I'm afraid we have strict regulations about cargo transport." Ramirez doesn't take the offered hand. "This isn't cargo. This is Staff Sergeant James Cooper, killed in action while saving his unit in Afghanistan. I'm his honor guard escort." "I respect your service and his sacrifice," Phillips says, the words practiced and hollow. But our aircraft has specific loading requirements. The cargo hold is where— Staff Sergeant Cooper is not cargo, Ramirez interrupts, his voice now carrying a hint of steel. The fallen soldier protocol is recognized by every major airline, including Trans-American. Your own company policy, Section 22-7B, specifically outlines the procedures for military remains transport. Phillips blinks, his rehearsed speech faltering. 22-7B? I'm not familiar with— It states that remains of U.S. military personnel under escort are to be treated with dignity, loaded with honor, and the escort must maintain visual contact throughout transport. Ramirez recites the policy from memory, his eyes never leaving Phillips. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking you to follow your own company policy. The crowd has grown larger now. A woman in an Air Force veteran's cap nods approvingly at Ramirez's words. Someone whispers, "He knows their policy better than they do." Phillips' smile tightens. "Sir, I've been with Trans-American for 12 years. I assure you I know our policies. If such a protocol exists, it would require pre-arrangement through our military liaison office." Ramirez pulls out his phone, taps the screen, and turns it toward Phillips. "These arrangements were confirmed yesterday. I have the email confirmation and authorization code right here." Phillips barely glances at the screen. That appears to be a general booking confirmation, not a special handling authorization. "Scroll down," Ramirez says, his patience thinning but his discipline holding. "Authorization code MP7729FSP, Fallen Soldier Protocol." Phillips stiffens. "If you continue causing a scene, I'll have to call security." The tension in the gate area thickens. Passengers exchange glances, their discomfort palpable. A young woman in a Trans-American customer service uniform stands at the counter behind Winters, watching intently, her face troubled. "I'm not creating a scene," Ramirez responds, his voice now carrying to the entire gate area without him raising it. "I'm completing my mission. I've escorted 17 fallen soldiers. This will be the first time an airline has refused to honor the protocol." Phillips' jaw tightens. He steps closer, lowering his voice. "Look, I understand this is important to you, but we have schedules to maintain. The cargo hold is climate-controlled and secure." "That's not the point," Ramirez says. "Staff Sergeant Cooper gave his life for this country. The least we can do is transport him with the dignity he deserves." "The airline makes the final determination on boarding procedures," Phillips says, his voice hardening. "Not the military." A flash of something, not quite anger, but resolute determination, crosses Ramirez's face. He stands at parade rest, a position that somehow makes him seem larger than Phillips despite their similar height. "Sir, are you refusing to honor the fallen soldier protocol?" Ramirez asks, his voice now carrying an official tone. "I'm enforcing Trans-American Airlines boarding procedures," Phillips responds. "Then I need to speak with your supervisor," Ramirez says, "and I need you to state your full name for the record." Phillips' face flushes. "For what record?" "For the incident report I'll be filing with the Department of Defense Liaison Office and the FAA," Ramirez says, his calm unbroken. "Refusal of military transport protocols requires documentation." The gate area has gone nearly silent now, the normal airport bustle muted around their confrontation. Phillips glances nervously at the crowd, noticing more phones recording the interaction. "This is becoming disruptive," Phillips says. "I'm going to have to ask you to step aside and let other passengers board." "I will not abandon Staff Sergeant Cooper," Ramirez says, each word distinct. "I made a promise to his parents that I would bring their son home with honor." Phillips reaches for his radio. "Security to gate C-17, please." From behind the counter, the young woman in the customer service uniform watches with increasing concern. She steps forward slightly, catching Ramirez's eye for just a moment before looking down at her tablet. Her name tag reads, Sarah Miller, Customer Advocate. Ramirez notices her subtle headshake, a warning or a message of some kind. He remains still, one hand still resting protectively on the transfer case. "Last call for cooperation," Phillips says, his corporate mask slipping to reveal frustration. "Either the case goes to cargo, or you both miss this flight." Ramirez meets his gaze unflinchingly. "Then we miss this flight, and I immediately contact Cooper's family, my commanding officer, and every news outlet in Denver to explain why Trans-American Airlines refused to transport a fallen soldier with dignity." Phillips' radio crackles as two airport security officers approach, their presence parting the crowd of onlookers. "What's the situation?" the lead officer asks. Phillips points at Ramirez. "This gentleman is refusing to comply with boarding procedures and creating a disturbance." The security officer turns to Ramirez, noting his uniform and the flag-draped transfer case. His expression shifts subtly. "Sir, can you explain your side?" Before Ramirez can answer, Phillips interrupts. "This is an airline matter. We have protocols." "So does the United States military," Ramirez says quietly. "And when it comes to bringing our fallen home, those protocols deserve respect." The security officers exchange glances. The older one, with gray at his temples, seems to hesitate, but his partner steps forward. "Sir, I understand your position, but we need to maintain order in the terminal." The younger officer gestures toward a side hallway. "Let's continue this discussion away from the boarding area." Ramirez doesn't move. "I can't leave Staff Sergeant Cooper unattended. It's my duty to maintain watch." The older security officer sighs. "Son, I served too. I understand, but we have to follow airport procedures." "Then Staff Sergeant Cooper comes with us," Ramirez insists. Phillips interjects. "The container needs to be processed through proper channels." "Transfer case," Ramirez corrects him sharply. "And proper channels for fallen service members are outlined in your own company policy." The younger security officer steps closer. "Sir, step away from the cargo, or we'll have to detain you." "That's not cargo. That's Staff Sergeant James Cooper." Ramirez's voice remains steady, but a dangerous edge has entered it. "Killed in action while saving 3 members of his unit." The crowd's murmurs grow louder. Several passengers have moved to stand behind Ramirez, a silent show of support. Phillips notices and makes a decision. He nods to the security officers. "Move him to the office. I'll handle the transfer case." Ramirez's eyes narrow. "No, absolutely not." "Sir, we need to clear this gate. We have a schedule to maintain." Phillips signals to the baggage handlers who have arrived with a cart. "Take this to special handling." "Don't touch that transfer case," Ramirez says, his voice commanding despite his junior rank. The baggage handlers freeze. The security officers each take one of Ramirez's arms. "Sir, please come with us. Don't make this more difficult." For a moment, Ramirez considers resistance, but his military training kicks in. Creating a scene won't help Cooper get home. He needs to think strategically. "I need to contact my commanding officer," he says as they lead him away from the gate. "You'll have that opportunity," the older officer assures him. As they escort him down the hallway, Ramirez glances back to see the baggage handlers wheeling Cooper's transfer case away, the American flag draped over it suddenly looking small and vulnerable under the harsh airport lights. They bring him to a small office with airport security stenciled on the frosted glass door. Inside, there's a metal table, 3 chairs, and a wall of security monitors showing various areas of the terminal. "Wait here," the younger officer says. "Someone will be with you shortly." The door clicks shut. Ramirez immediately pulls out his phone, but there's no signal in the room. He tries the door. Locked. Through the frosted glass, he can see the silhouette of an officer standing guard. On one of the security monitors, he spots the baggage handling area. His heart sinks as he watches Cooper's transfer case being moved alongside regular luggage. No ceremony, no respect, just another item to be loaded. He checks his watch. Each minute that passes is 1 minute closer to missing the funeral tomorrow. He had promised Cooper's parents he would bring their son home with dignity and on time. Now both promises are in jeopardy. Ramirez sits at the table, back straight, mind racing. His chain of command won't be easy to reach on a weekend. The military liaison office for the airport closed at 5 p.m. He's effectively alone. Phillips enters 30 minutes later, a folder in hand. His corporate smile is back in place. Specialist Ramirez, I apologize for the inconvenience, but we need to maintain order in our terminals. Where is Staff Sergeant Cooper? Ramirez demands. Being prepared for transport in the cargo hold as per standard procedure. Phillips slides a paper across the table. You have two options. You can board the next flight as a passenger, with the understanding that the transfer case will travel in cargo. Or you can make alternative arrangements with another carrier. Ramirez reads the paper, a passenger behavior warning. And if I refuse to separate from my fallen soldier? Philip's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Then unfortunately, Trans-American will have to deny you both transport. You have 30 minutes to decide. Either check the casket or miss your flight. As Phillips leaves, Ramirez catches a glimpse of another security monitor. In the terminal, the crowd from gate C-17 has dispersed. The flight is boarding. And in the distance, just visible at the edge of the frame, is Sarah Miller, the customer advocate, taking what appears to be photos of documents on her tablet. The door opens 15 minutes later. Sarah Miller slips in, glancing nervously over her shoulder before shutting it behind her. I don't have much time, she says, her voice hushed. They think I'm getting coffee for the supervisors' meeting about your situation. Ramirez stands, his posture automatically straightening. You're the customer advocate I saw at the gate. Yes. Sarah places her tablet on the table. What they're doing isn't right. I've worked for Trans-American for 5 years, and I've never seen anyone cite Policy 227B correctly before. Ramirez studies her, caution tempering his hope. You know about the fallen soldier protocol? I do now. She turns her tablet toward him. After I saw what happened, I looked it up in our internal policy database. It's there, clear as day, but it's buried in a subsection most staff never access. The screen shows the policy highlighted in yellow. Trans-American Airlines shall provide dignified transport for fallen U.S. military personnel. Transfer cases containing remains shall remain under escort supervision throughout the journey, including boarding, flight, and deplaning processes. Such transport shall take priority over standard luggage handling procedures. This is exactly what I was trying to tell them, Ramirez says, his jaw tight. Sarah nods. Phillips knows about this policy. He's choosing to ignore it. Why? Because it's inconvenient. Because it takes extra time and disrupts his precious on-time departure statistics. Sarah's voice carries quiet anger. My husband served 2 tours in Iraq. If he... She pauses, swallowing hard. I would have wanted someone like you bringing him home. Ramirez's expression softens slightly. Is your husband... He made it home. We're divorced now, but that's not the point. Sarah taps the tablet. The point is, I've seen this before. 3 complaints about military transport issues in the past year, all handled by Phillips, all buried in the system. She pulls up another document. This is an incident report from last October. Almost identical situation at our Chicago hub. Phillips denied boarding to a military escort with remains, citing oversized luggage regulations. What happened? The escort didn't know the policy like you do. The remains were transported in cargo, the escort filed a complaint afterward, and Phillips buried it with customer service credits and an NDA. Ramirez's eyes narrow. He's done this before. 3 times that I could find in our system. Sarah looks at her watch. We don't have much time. Your flight leaves in 50 minutes and they're already boarding. I need to get back to Staff Sergeant Cooper. They've moved him to the special handling area near gate C-10, Sarah says. Not regular cargo, at least. I think your stand at the gate scared them enough to follow some protocols. Ramirez straightens his uniform jacket. I need to get out of this room. That's the next problem. Phillips has asked security to keep you here until the flight departs. Sarah lowers her voice further. But there's someone above Phillips who needs to see this. But we need to move fast. Who? Elaine Foster, our regional director. She's actually in the airport today for quarterly reviews. Hope flickers in Ramirez's eyes. Can you reach her? I can try. She doesn't know me, but this is the kind of situation that could become a PR nightmare. Sarah hesitates. There's something else you should know. The security cameras caught the baggage handlers with Cooper's transfer case. She pulls up a video on her tablet. The footage shows two handlers moving the flag-draped transfer case, talking and laughing. One pretends to stumble, then makes a joke. They're not intentionally disrespectful, but their casual treatment is jarring. Ramirez's face hardens. They have no idea what's in there, who that is. No, they don't. Sarah stops the video. This footage alone would cause outrage if it got out. I don't want outrage. I want Staff Sergeant Cooper treated with the dignity he deserves. Sarah nods. That's why I'm helping you. This isn't right. She pulls out her phone. I'm going to contact Director Foster. She should see the policy violation and the security footage. But I need something from you. What? Your military orders and any documentation of the arrangements with Trans-American. The more official paperwork we have, the better. Ramirez reaches into his breast pocket and removes several folded papers. Here's everything. Transport authorization, escort orders, confirmation emails. All official. Sarah takes the papers, her hands steady despite the risk she's taking. Phillips doesn't know I have access to the security footage or the complaint database. I could lose my job for this. Why are you risking it? She meets his gaze. Because some things matter more than a job. Some promises need to be kept. Ramirez nods, understanding passing between them. Staff Sergeant Cooper's parents are waiting. They lost their only son. I'll do everything I can. Sarah stands, gathering the documents. Try your phone again in about 5 minutes. The signal blocking in these rooms sometimes glitches if the door's been opened. Thank you, Ramirez says, the words inadequate for what she's risking. Sarah pauses at the door. There's a small crowd gathering at customer service. Word is spreading about what happened at the gate. I'm not looking to cause a scene. Sometimes a scene is exactly what's needed to make things right. She slips out, the door closing softly behind her. Alone again, Ramirez paces the small room. On the security monitors, he watches the terminal bustling with travelers, unaware of the fallen soldier in their midst, the promises being broken. He checks his watch. The minutes tick by with excruciating slowness. True to Sarah's word, his phone suddenly shows a weak signal. Immediately, he calls his commanding officer's direct line. Major Reynolds, a voice answers. Sir, Specialist Ramirez, I have a situation with Staff Sergeant Cooper's transport. He quickly explains the circumstances, his voice professional despite his anger. They did what? The major's voice rises. Hold tight, Ramirez. I'm contacting our liaison at Trans-American headquarters right now. Keep your phone on. Yes, sir. As he ends the call, Ramirez notices something on one of the security monitors. Sarah is speaking with an older woman in an impeccable suit. Elaine Foster, he assumes. The regional director's expression changes as she looks at Sarah's tablet. She straightens, her body language shifting from dismissive to concerned. For the first time since being separated from Cooper's transfer case, Ramirez feels a glimmer of hope. The wall clock in the security room reads 4:23 p.m. Ramirez calculates quickly. With the flight scheduled for 5:15 p.m. and Cooper's funeral procession forming at 8:00 a.m. tomorrow in Arlington, every minute counts. The next flight wouldn't arrive until mid-morning. Too late. His phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. Foster reviewing documents. Stay ready. S. The security monitor shows a tense conversation unfolding. Director Foster stands rigid as she swipes through Sarah's tablet, her expression darkening with each screen. Phillips appears, his practiced smile faltering as Foster holds up the tablet, pointing to something on the screen. Ramirez's phone rings again. Major Reynolds. Ramirez, headquarters is on this now. They've contacted Transamerican's military liaison office. His voice carries the authority of action in progress. I've emailed you additional documentation. Forward it to anyone who needs to see it. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. One more thing. There's a news crew at Andrews waiting to cover Cooper's arrival. His unit is well known after that firefight. If he doesn't arrive as scheduled... Understood, sir. The implications are clear. This could become more than an incident. It could become a story. The door opens. The older security officer enters, his expression conflicted. Specialist, the regional director wants to see you. He holds the door. Your Staff Sergeant Cooper's transfer case is being held at Gate C10. Ramirez moves immediately, striding through the terminal with military precision. Travelers part before him, some nodding in respect at his uniform. At Gate C10, he sees Cooper's transfer case, the flag still draped over it, thankfully undisturbed. His phone vibrates again. Director Foster will be here in 20 minutes. Can you hold out? Ramirez positions himself beside the transfer case, resuming his watch. Across the terminal, he spots Phillips in heated conversation with another manager, gesturing toward Ramirez. Another text arrives, this one from Major Reynolds. My CO says headquarters is suddenly very interested in this situation. Stay by your phone. On the departure board, the status for Flight 1829 to Washington, D.C. changes from boarding to final call. Time is running out. Sarah appears at his side, her voice low and urgent. They're trying to proceed with departure. Foster is reviewing everything, but Phillips is pushing to maintain schedule. Where is Staff Sergeant Cooper's transfer case supposed to be right now? They're moving it to regular cargo holding. We need to stop them now. Sarah points to two baggage handlers approaching with a cart. Foster ordered it held here, but Phillips countermanded. Ramirez steps forward, placing himself between the handlers and the transfer case. This fallen soldier remains under my watch by order of the United States Army. The handlers hesitate, looking to their supervisor for direction. The supervisor's radio crackles with Phillips' voice. Proceed as directed. Ramirez doesn't move. The baggage handlers shift uncomfortably, caught between conflicting authorities. Check your phones, Sarah says suddenly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Transamerican's treatment of a fallen soldier is trending on Twitter. The supervisor glances at his phone, then back at Ramirez and the flag-draped transfer case. He makes a decision. Hold position. Let's wait for clarification. He steps away, speaking urgently into his radio. Ramirez exhales slowly. A temporary reprieve, but the clock keeps ticking. Director Elaine Foster arrives precisely at 5:05 p.m., her heels clicking purposefully across the terminal floor. She's flanked by two assistants and Phillips, whose face is locked in a grimace masquerading as professionalism. Foster approaches Ramirez, her assessment quick and thorough. Specialist Ramirez, I'm Elaine Foster, Regional Director for Transamerican Airlines. I understand there's been a situation regarding your escort duty. Yes, ma'am. Ramirez stands at parade rest, his posture impeccable. I'm escorting Staff Sergeant James Cooper home to his family. Your staff has refused to honor the fallen soldier protocol despite it being your own company policy. Foster's eyes flick to the flag-draped transfer case, then back to Ramirez. So I'm hearing. Let's move this discussion somewhere more appropriate. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I cannot leave Staff Sergeant Cooper unattended. Something in Foster's expression shifts. A flicker of respect, perhaps. Of course. We'll use the private waiting area adjacent to this gate. She turns to one of her assistants. Ensure the transfer case remains untouched and treated with appropriate respect. The assistant nods, positioning himself beside Cooper's remains. In the private waiting area, Foster takes control immediately. Sarah stands to one side, her tablet ready. Phillips looms near the door, arms crossed. "I've reviewed the materials Ms. Miller provided," Foster begins, her tone neutral but sharp. "Mr. Phillips, can you explain why you denied boarding under Policy 227B? Phillips straightens. "Director Foster, I followed standard oversized item procedures. The policy Ms. Miller references is outdated and rarely implemented." "Actually," Foster says, turning her tablet around, 227B was updated last quarter and remains very much in effect. It's highlighted in our military partnership materials." "I wasn't aware. Did you actually check the policy before denying boarding?" Foster's question cuts through Phillips' explanation. Phillips hesitates. "We have thousands of policies. In the moment, I prioritized on-time departure and standard procedures." "In the moment," Foster repeats, her tone making the words an indictment. She turns to Ramirez. "Specialist, I apologize for this situation. Your military transport authorization is clearly in order. May I ask about your background with these procedures?" "Before I was honor guard, I worked 3 years in the Judge Advocate General's office, specializing in transport regulations." Ramirez's revelation lands like a stone in still water. "I helped draft the military side of these exact protocols." Phillips pales visibly. Sarah suppresses a smile. Foster's eyebrows rise slightly. "I see. That explains your familiarity with our policies." Her phone buzzes. She checks it, her expression tightening. "Our corporate office is receiving media inquiries about this incident." "Social media," Sarah explains quietly. "Passengers from the gate shared videos." Foster nods briskly. "Specialist Ramirez, we need to resolve this immediately." She turns to Phillips. "The flight to D.C., what's its status?" "Final boarding. Doors close in 7 minutes." "Hold the doors," Foster orders. "Prepare for proper boarding of Staff Sergeant Cooper's transfer case with Specialist Ramirez as escort." "That will delay departure by at least 15 minutes, Phillips protests. "Then we'll be 15 minutes late," Foster says firmly. "This isn't just about one flight. This is about honoring our commitment." Ramirez's phone vibrates with an email notification. "Ma'am, my commanding officer has forwarded additional documentation from Military Transport Command." He opens the email, showing Foster the screen. "Complete military transport authorization documents, countersigned by Transamerican's Military Liaison Office yesterday." Foster reviews the documents, then fixes Phillips with a stare. "These authorizations were in your system. They were properly filed." Phillips shifts uncomfortably. "There may have been a computer error." "Ms. Miller," Foster interrupts, "how many similar incidents have you documented involving Mr. Phillips?" 3 in the past year, ma'am. All with military transports, all resolved by denying proper protocol, all complaints subsequently buried with NDAs and compensation." The room falls silent. Foster's expression is unreadable as she processes this information. "Specialist Ramirez," she finally says, "please accept my personal apology for this breakdown in our procedures. We will immediately arrange for you and Staff Sergeant Cooper to board with full honors." Relief washes over Ramirez, though his expression remains composed. "Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Phillips will personally oversee the correct implementation of our fallen soldier protocol." Her tone makes it clear this is both a punishment and a lesson. "Ms. Miller, please accompany them to ensure everything proceeds according to policy." As they prepare to leave, Foster adds, "Specialist Ramirez, may I ask one question? What made you so certain of our policy that you stood your ground against my staff?" "Ma'am, this isn't just about one flight," Ramirez echoes her earlier words. "This is about honoring our commitment to Staff Sergeant Cooper, to his family, to every service member who risks never coming home." Foster nods, understanding. "Then let's get Staff Sergeant Cooper home." The terminal falls silent as Ramirez walks alongside Staff Sergeant Cooper's transfer case. Two baggage handlers, now wearing white gloves provided by the airline, guide the special transport cart with solemn care. Phillips leads the procession, his earlier arrogance replaced by stiff formality. "Ladies and gentlemen," the gate announcement begins, "Trans-American Airlines is honored to transport a fallen American hero today. We ask for your respect and patience during this special boarding procedure." Passengers waiting at the gate stand as the procession passes. An elderly man removes his hat. A young woman places her hand over her heart. A child whispers a question to his mother, who answers quietly, teaching a lesson about sacrifice that needs no curriculum. At the aircraft door, the flight crew stands at attention. The captain steps forward, saluting Ramirez. "Specialist, it's our honor to bring Staff Sergeant Cooper home. We've prepared the forward cargo compartment with special securing. You'll have access throughout the flight." "Thank you, sir," Ramirez responds, returning the salute. Together, they supervise as Cooper's transfer case is carefully loaded. Ramirez inspects the securing straps personally, ensuring everything is properly in place. Only when he's satisfied does he nod to the captain. "We'll depart as soon as you're settled," the captain says. "I've informed the passengers about our mission today." Foster approaches as Ramirez prepares to board. "Everything is satisfactory?" "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." "Good." She hands him a folder. "We'll need you to sign a non-disclosure agreement before boarding. Standard procedure in resolved customer service matters." Ramirez takes the folder without opening it. "Thank you for your assistance, but my duty isn't complete until Staff Sergeant Cooper is home." "Of course." Foster's professional smile returns. "I'm truly sorry for the confusion, but we need to handle this discreetly. The paperwork can wait until after we land." As Ramirez boards the aircraft, passengers nod respectfully. He takes his seat, the folder unopened in his lap. Through the window, he watches Phillips speaking urgently to Foster, gesturing toward the plane. For the first time since arriving at the airport, Ramirez allows himself to relax slightly. Cooper is on his way home. Mission proceeding. But something about Foster's sudden insistence on an NDA doesn't sit right. This isn't over yet. The aircraft door remains open as a flight attendant approaches Ramirez. "Sir, Director Foster requests you step back into the jetway for a final document signature before takeoff." Ramirez checks his watch. They're already 20 minutes delayed. Every minute counts for Cooper's homecoming. "Can it wait until we land?" "I'm afraid she was quite insistent, sir. It will only take a moment." In the jetway, Foster stands with Phillips and a man in a Trans-American Legal Department badge. Foster extends a pen and opens the folder Ramirez brought on board. "We need your signature on the non-disclosure agreement before departure. Standard procedure for incident resolution." Ramirez takes the document, reading carefully. His military training in legal procedures serves him well as he identifies the sweeping language. "This prohibits me from discussing any aspect of today's events with anyone, including my commanding officers or Staff Sergeant Cooper's family." "It's standard language," the legal representative says smoothly. "In exchange, Trans-American is offering priority status and travel vouchers." "I'm not interested in compensation. I'm interested in ensuring this never happens to another fallen soldier." Ramirez hands the document back unsigned. "I cannot legally sign this. My duty requires a full report to my chain of command." Foster's professional demeanor cools. "Then I'm afraid we have a problem. Our agreement to transport was contingent on resolving this matter completely." "The agreement to transport is based on your own company policy and federal regulations," Ramirez counters. "Not my willingness to remain silent." Phillips steps forward. "Perhaps you don't understand the situation. This is a courtesy we're extending." "No, Mr. Phillips. I understand perfectly." Ramirez stands taller. "You denied proper transport to a fallen soldier. When confronted with your own policy, you attempted to detain me until the flight departed. When that failed, you're now trying to silence me with legal documents and vouchers." Foster's eyes narrow. "That's a serious accusation." It's not an accusation. It's a documented fact. Ramirez removes his phone from his pocket. I've recorded every interaction since arriving at this airport. He plays the first recording. His initial conversation with the gate agent, her dismissal, Phillips's arrival and denial. Phillips's face darkens. Recording without consent is perfectly legal in Colorado, a one-party consent state, Ramirez finishes. As you would know if you reviewed state laws regarding customer interactions. I was a party to the conversation. One recording doesn't prove a pattern, Foster says, her voice tight. You're right, but this does. Ramirez taps his phone again, sending a file. Foster's phone pings with the incoming message. Security camera footage showing baggage handlers mishandling Staff Sergeant Cooper's transfer case, laughing, joking. Foster's eyes widen slightly as she looks at her screen. Ms. Miller provided that footage, didn't she? Phillips's voice rises. She had no authorization. She had every authorization as customer advocate to document a customer complaint, Ramirez interrupts. Just as she had authorization to access the database showing 3 previous incidents where you, Mr. Phillips, denied military escorts proper transport, all conveniently resolved with NDAs and buried complaints. The legal representative shifts uncomfortably. Director Foster, perhaps we should discuss this privately. It's too late for that, Ramirez says. Ms. Foster, your company has a choice to make right now. He sends another file to Foster's phone. This is an email drafted to my commanding officer, copying the Department of Defense Liaison Office, the FAA Transportation Division, and 3 national news outlets currently covering military affairs. It contains all recordings, footage, and documentation of today's events. The jetway falls silent. Foster stares at her phone, scrolling through the evidence. You wouldn't, Phillips challenges. Your career? My career is to honor my oath and complete my mission with integrity, Ramirez says calmly. Staff Sergeant Cooper died saving his unit. He never abandoned his post. I won't abandon mine. This could be interpreted as blackmail, the legal representative warns. No, sir. This is accountability. Ramirez's voice remains measured. The recordings have already been backed up to my commanding officer's server. I'm simply giving you the opportunity to address this situation properly before it becomes a matter of public record. Foster takes a deep breath, weighing her options. What exactly are you proposing? First, Staff Sergeant Cooper continues home today with proper honors and handling. Second, Trans-American reviews and enforces its military transport policies with all staff. Third, the previous complaints Mr. Phillips buried are reviewed and addressed. Fourth, no disciplinary action against Ms. Miller for upholding your company's stated values. And the recordings, Phillips demands, remain part of my official report to my commanding officer as required by regulations. Foster looks at Phillips, then back to Ramirez. The calculation in her eyes is clear. A PR disaster versus policy reform. Mr. Phillips, return to the terminal. We'll discuss your handling of this matter tomorrow. Foster's voice leaves no room for argument. Phillips opens his mouth to protest, then thinks better of it. He leaves the jetway, defeat evident in every step. Foster turns to Ramirez. Your terms are acceptable, with one condition. Trans-American needs to review our procedures internally before any public statement. That's reasonable, Ramirez agrees. My report will note your cooperative response once the issue was elevated to appropriate management. The tension in the jetway eases slightly. The legal representative quietly closes his folder. There's one more thing, Ramirez adds. Where is Ms. Miller now? Waiting in the terminal, Foster admits. She's concerned about repercussions. I'd like to thank her before we depart. Foster nods to the flight attendant, who steps away to make a call. Minutes later, Sarah appears in the jetway. You're still here, she says, relief evident in her voice. I thought they might have pressured you into signing something. They tried, Ramirez says with the first hint of a smile. But it turns out your evidence stack was too comprehensive to ignore. Sarah straightens, professionalism returning as she addresses Foster. Director, I acted within my role as customer advocate. The policy violations were clear and documented. Yes, they were, Foster acknowledges. Your actions will be reviewed as part of our process improvement, not as a disciplinary matter. Sarah's shoulders relax slightly. Thank you. No, Ramirez says quietly. Thank you. Staff Sergeant Cooper is going home because you stood up when it would have been easier to look away. The captain appears in the aircraft door. We need to depart if we're going to make our slot at Reagan National. Foster nods. Of course. Specialist Ramirez, is there anything else Staff Sergeant Cooper needs for his journey home? The question, finally acknowledging Cooper as a person rather than cargo, doesn't go unnoticed by Ramirez. No, ma'am, just respect and dignity. That's all any of us ask for in the end. As Ramirez boards the aircraft again, the passengers, who have been waiting patiently through the delay, watch in silence. The captain makes an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're honored to be bringing one of America's heroes home today. Our estimated arrival at Reagan National is 8:42 p.m. Ramirez settles into his seat, finally allowing himself to feel the weight of the day's confrontation. His phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. Safe travels, both of you. Through the window, he watches Foster standing on the tarmac, phone to her ear, no doubt beginning the process of damage control and policy review. As the aircraft pushes back, Ramirez turns his attention to the task still ahead, bringing Staff Sergeant Cooper home to his waiting family. The mission continues, but the hardest battle has been won. Not through force, but through knowledge, preparation, and the unwavering commitment to do what's right, even when standing alone. The aircraft touches down at Reagan National Airport at 8:37 p.m., 5 minutes ahead of schedule. As they taxi to the gate, the captain's voice comes over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to complete a sacred mission. I ask that you remain seated after we arrive to allow Specialist Ramirez and Staff Sergeant Cooper to depart first. Today, we've been part of a fallen hero's journey home. When the door opens, Ramirez finds an honor guard waiting in the jetway. 6 members of the Army Honor Guard in full dress uniform come to receive one of their own. Their presence, unexpected but deeply appreciated, brings a lump to Ramirez's throat. Specialist Ramirez, their leader says with a crisp salute. We're here to assist Staff Sergeant Cooper's final journey. Thank you, Ramirez responds, returning the salute. The ground crew has prepared a special transport vehicle. As Cooper's transfer case emerges from the aircraft, every member of the flight crew stands at attention. The passengers, still seated as requested, watch through the windows. Many place hands over hearts. A few veterans among them salute. On the tarmac, the honor guard receives the transfer case, moving with precision and dignity. Every motion reflects years of practice and deep respect. They secure Staff Sergeant Cooper in the transport vehicle, each movement deliberate and honored. Ramirez's phone rings. Major Reynolds. Ramirez, well done. Cooper's parents are waiting at Dover. The ceremony is set for 0800 tomorrow as planned. We'll be there, sir. I heard there was some trouble with the airline. Yes, sir. Resolved now. I'll include it in my full report. Good. The Secretary of the Army's office called. Apparently, Transamerican's CEO personally reached out regarding their military transport policies. Quite a stir you caused. Just doing my duty, sir. Keep doing it, Specialist. See you at Dover. The Honor Guard transport moves at a measured pace across the tarmac toward the waiting hearse. Airport ground operations have paused briefly, a rare concession in the never-stopping flow of air travel. In the distance, Ramirez notices a news crew filming from behind a security barrier. His phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. Just saw the statement from our CEO. Transamerican Airlines acknowledges our failure to properly honor a fallen service member today. Effective immediately, all staff will receive training on our military transport protocols, which we are committed to upholding with the utmost respect and dignity. A second text follows. Phillips has been reassigned to freight operations. I've been asked to help develop our new military family assistance program. Thank you for standing your ground. The honor guard secures Staff Sergeant Cooper in the hearse. Ramirez takes his position for the drive to Dover Air Force Base, where the formal transfer ceremony will take place in the morning. As they pull away from the terminal, Ramirez reflects on the day's battle, different from the one that took Cooper's life, but important in its own way. Systems only work when people within them stand up for what's right, even at personal risk. Dawn breaks clear and cool at Dover Air Force Base. Staff Sergeant James Cooper's parents stand straight-backed as the transfer case, now draped with a fresh flag, moves from the hearse to the ceremony area. Cooper's father, himself a veteran, wears his old service medals. His mother clutches a framed photograph of her son. After the ceremony, as the family prepares to accompany Cooper to Arlington, Mrs. Cooper approaches Ramirez. "Specialist Ramirez, thank you for bringing our son home." Her voice is steady despite her grief. "It was my honor, ma'am. We heard there were some complications during the journey." Mr. Cooper joins them. "That you had to fight for Jimmy to be treated with respect. Nothing your son wouldn't have done, sir." Ramirez stands at parade rest. "Staff Sergeant Cooper never gave up his mission. I couldn't give up mine." Mrs. Cooper takes Ramirez's hand between hers. "Today we honor not just Staff Sergeant Cooper, but the promise we make to bring all our heroes home." The funeral procession forms precisely at 0800, right on schedule. As they drive toward Arlington, Ramirez receives an email from Trans-American Airlines corporate office. The subject line reads, "Implementation of Cooper Protocol." The message details a new company-wide policy named after Staff Sergeant James Cooper, ensuring proper handling of fallen service members and support for military families. Sarah Miller is listed as the program director. At Arlington, as Cooper joins the ranks of America's fallen heroes, Ramirez stands at perfect attention. His battle to get Cooper home with dignity was small compared to the sacrifice Cooper made, but it mattered. It mattered to Cooper's parents, to Sarah Miller, to the passengers who witnessed it, and to every service member who might make the same journey in the future. 2 weeks later, Ramirez receives orders for his next escort mission. At the airport, he finds the staff well-trained and respectful. The gate agent, seeing his uniform and orders, immediately implements the special boarding procedure, now officially called the Cooper Protocol throughout Trans-American's system. As he settles into his seat, escort duty underway, his phone buzzes with a message from Sarah. 4 more airlines have adopted similar protocols after our story got out. Sometimes the most important regulations are the ones that protect our humanity. Ramirez looks out the window as the aircraft climbs through the clouds. Systems fail when good people stay silent. They heal when good people stand up. Staff Sergeant Cooper had stood up for his unit in Afghanistan, making the ultimate sacrifice. The least Ramirez could do was stand up for him on his journey home. Mission complete. If this story moved you, there are more powerful narratives waiting to be heard. At PAP Stories, we craft voice-only experiences that capture the triumph of justice, the strength of character, and the moments that define who we are as humans. Hit that subscribe button now to join our community of listeners who appreciate stories that matter. Each week, we deliver meticulously crafted narratives directly to your feed, perfect for your commute, workout, or those moments when you need inspiration. Don't miss our next story of courage, redemption, and the power of standing up for what's right. Like this video, subscribe to PAP Stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new release.